Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 148 of Keeping It Real. I'm your host, jackkadis, and today, what are we going to get into today? Today, I think we do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but before we do, I'd like to make a brief announcement. If you have any interest in supporting this show, please don't hesitate to send me an email at jackkadis@gmail.com. That's Jack, J-A-C-K-L, Kadis, K-A-D-I-S @gmail.com. I just dabbed on the haters. What is there to say? Well, I really liked the thumbnail on yesterday's video. I went back to a bubble-lettered approach, and I feel like it's dope. Helped me out, you know. What else? I don't know. I feel, what should I say? I don't know. Oh my goodness. In yesterday's episode, I read a lot of personal, private diary stuff. And, you know, it is what it is. That wasn't the most, I feel like there's constructive episodes and there's not. Although I have read that stuff before, and I feel like yesterday I read it much better than I usually read it, if that makes any sense. Does that make any sense? Sometimes I feel like I get really down on myself when I read that kind of stuff, but I kind of just read it for what it was last night and didn't think too much about it. And there's plenty to think about it, you know. In a lot of ways, I was very different a year ago. In a lot of ways, I was very similar a year ago. It's kind of just what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? Yesterday, didn't have work. Today I have work. I'm grateful for work. A, means I get to eat some free food, and B, it adds a little bit of structure to my day. Weirdly enough, because work, I think I am doing this video before work, because yesterday I waited until very late at night to start my Keeping It Real, and that threw everything off. And yesterday I decided to drink a Monster energy drink. What was I thinking? Anyway, you know, I feel like I can still feel it, to be honest with you, because when did I drink it? It's got a 12-hour half-life. It's probably worn off by now. But still, I feel it's still, the side effects are still, I don't know why I did that. My bed felt very cozy this morning, but I got out of it anyway, and I started filming anyway. And that, my friends, is very, very important. You must get out of bed. I did hit snooze once or twice and then a third time, but eventually I got out of bed in time for me to make this. Tonight should be, I heard that tonight is going to be very, very slow at work, is what I've heard. Slower than Mother's Day, which, you know, I'm ready for. 2 days ago at work, it wasn't that slow, but, you know, I don't see why today could be super slow. Just kind of what is, you know what I'm saying? I guess for a little bit, I'd like to talk about my long-term goal of New York City. This is, I think it's a good goal for me to set. I think it's perfect. It's just seemingly out of reach, and with a lot of hard work, it can be accomplished. And I need to realize that this is the kind of thing, much like how I have my trip with my guys coming up, and I seemingly put it off for half a month, and then just 2 days ago, I finally made the first set of backup videos for the 21st, which is the first day that, you know, I'll be taking my vacation. my New York City dream has to start. Like it, I can't keep putting it off. I know I saved a couple dollars and I make an Instagram reel for it every day, but I need to be, like I need to do all the things that I know I need to do. I need to plaster the walls on my room. I need to clean my apartment. And I need to start genuinely making a money plan about how it might be possible for me to afford a month, 2 months. I need to start thinking realistically about how am I going to get hired by a Jersey Mike's? How can I make sure that the second I get there, I have a job? This stuff is all very complex and very complicated, and it's daunting. Much like how I have 7.5 or a week and a half worth of videos I have to back up, I have a whole life to set up in New York City. And it's, I have a month prior to do my video backups, and I have a year prior to set my life up. And it's very, very big and looming. But I know that I can do it if I just simply start. It's not going to work out if I start last minute. It just won't work out if I start last minute. I've wanted plenty of things before, and they come and they go and they fade. I mean, if you want to know like lots of personal stuff about me, you can go and watch yesterday's episode. It was very telling about the kind of person I am. I would say if I watched that as someone that wasn't me, I would think that I am very up and down kind of guy, like very like super excited, super depressed kind of guy. And that, I think I've showed that on camera even in the past, how like some videos will be really good and some not. But that's not the kind of, I guess that just is what it is. I don't think, it is something that I'm able to, I don't think it's like a fault really, but it is, I don't know. There's lots of thinking to do. Lots of thinking to do. I wonder if this camera has enough battery to make it. Yeah, it looks like it does. It'll start blinking also. So, but that's the half of it, the truth of it. New York City is coming up. I'll talk about for a minute why I want to go to New York City, because lately it's honestly been almost like, do I really want to go? And I've honestly been having these same thoughts with, and I'll stop cross-referencing because where does that really even get us? Same thoughts with this guys trip coming up. Like, I don't really have the money this guys trip directly conflicts with New York City. Like, if I go to this guys trip, then I have to spend, who knows, upwards of $500 on Airbnb, food, just random expenses, and I don't have that money to spend. Like, I have it, but that's going to totally eliminate my ability to cover any sort of emergency expense, and I guess I'm okay with that, because I think what I'm doing here is much more valuable than having the money for an emergency expense at my age. What I'm doing here is putting in the extra hours and working the extra nights to be able to take some days off. And I don't want to let, myself butt in and make an excuse as to why I don't have to do the extra work. Oh, I won't go on the trip because I'd rather not spend the money. Then I don't have to do the extra work. I'm kind of locked myself in here. Like, you're going to go on this trip, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to work to be able to enjoy it. It's the same with New York City nowadays. I think it's like the initial high of the commitment has worn off. Like, I had like a eureka moment, for 2 weeks I brewed on it, I think solo probably, where I was like, I think I should move to New York City when my lease is up. I think when my lease is up, I should move to New York City. And then one day I just sort of announced it publicly on Instagram as like a self, as a way to back myself up. Like, can't back out now, I said it on Instagram. And then I would do it every single day on Instagram. And now it's been like a month. I started off strong with saving a couple dollars here and there. I would do this, do that. I'd be very verbal about what I did on this day to prepare for New York City. And now we're in this slump where it's very common for me not to actually say one thing that I did to prepare, but just have the video be a video in itself about the fact that I want to go to New York City in a year. And I'm also at a place where the excitement has turned to a bit of dread. Like, I'm almost like, oh no, like I have to go to New York City in a year. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think that that's any reason for me not to go. I think that dread waits for me at New York City, and I think that this is a sign of me becoming more mature and I guess neutral emotionally, I guess, because it's like I'm able to see into the future. I'm able to see what might happen to my mind and body when I place myself in an entirely new setting with none of my old friends or my old routine, none of it, right? It's probably going to be hard as shit. So it's almost like I kind of adapt and I realize this is going to come. This is coming towards me, right? And it's almost like I'm already not excited. Like I'm already kind of bummed out. Like this is going to suck, And it's like I bring the suck to me now to make the suck for me later easier to bear. Like I realize, okay, this already sucks. Like I already have so many more tasks than I normally would over the next year in order for me to get there in the first place. This totally blows. But that's what I feel like that's what it's all about. Like that's kind of what being an adult is like you have such an ability to look forward in your life that you're able to prepare in ways that your younger self just didn't have the option to. It really shows when I read my diary from a year ago in yesterday's episode. It started around the 1st of May, and I read all the way through the entire month. And around the 1st of May is when I had decided, or maybe I just knew that at near the mid or end of the month, I was going to hop on a plane and go to New York City. And never once did I really do any prep or even think about what I was going there to do. It was very much like, I'm going to New York City. That's exciting. So now I'm excited. And there would be little things here and there where it's like, oh, I should be doing this. I should think about why I'm doing this. But I would very much brush them off. And I remember the night before my plane, I was scrambling, frantic, trying to air dry all my nice clothes. And I was up all night. And there's no sense in that. That's not how adults do things. They don't wait till the very last minute and scramble to do as much as they can in the time that they have. They plan, they coordinate, and they reason. And if I had done that, who knows? I went to New York City and I'm there trying to find a job whilst I have an open lease and a lease signed for the next year back in Raleigh. Whilst all my items and belongings are still in a bedroom in Raleigh, whilst I have a car with insurance in Raleigh. All these things that make it just even more ridiculous for me to... imagine if I were to have spoken to a parent on the phone and been like, yeah, I've gotten a job here. I've decided I'm moving to New York City. They'd be like, okay, what about everything? How are you going to... and I would have these thoughts, and then I'd think oh, I could get a roommate to do it, and then I just move on. And it's that's just so irresponsible. That's so, I don't know. I don't want to hate on myself too much because I feel like I had a lot of stuff at the time that I just really wanted to run away from. And I think I got to New York City and I realized that it all just followed me all the way in all of my suitcases on the plane there. And it's now I was just I'm struggling with all this stuff, but the only exception is now I'm in New York City. But I wanted to take, you know, I wanted to take the challenge of going somewhere new and believing in myself, into this next chapter, this next year of my life. And I wanted to see what would happen if I did it all the right way and still move to New York City. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. I feel like there's thousands of young guys just like me that make this move every single day. Maybe not day, but definitely every week. Thousands of guys just like me making this move every week. Maybe not a week, maybe like a month. But you know what I'm saying? And so you start to think about all of them, and you start to think about how I stack up to them, and it's like, how many of them are gonna succeed? Well, what does success look like? Well, it depends. Have they asked themselves? Would they answer honestly if asked? Why are they really going to New York City? I think it's a tie between the best answer for that question, for me at least. It's a tie between because I have to and I don't know. Those are the two answers that kind of tie. It's like because I have to go and I have no idea why I'm going. Those are the two answers to why do you have to go to New York City. And I think those are the best answers. And I feel like they come together to make a strong answer team. Because on the one hand, there's no other way for me to truly understand why I'm doing this than to just know that I feel it in my chest. Or even in the coming months when it really sucks. I'm doing all these extra tasks I don't have to do. It's cutting into my time where I just get to do whatever I want. And it kind of really blows. I'm going to think back to the me when I really had that, because I have to, inspirational feeling, in my chest when I finally decided to, do it, save that first dollar. That's the because I have to that I think about. And the I have no idea why is the raw, honest, vulnerable side where I tell you that, yes, I could look back on this one day, 10 years from now, and think that this has been a huge mistake. I'm so aware of that because I've made plenty of huge mistakes before, and I'm not, dumb enough to say honestly that I don't think I'll make a single mistake again, especially not big ones. I think I have plenty of giant mistakes left in my life. I'm grateful for that. It means I'm still young. So that's why saying to you, I have no idea why I'm going to New York City is also important because it reminds me that, I don't have, I can steer the ship, but I don't know where I'm headed. So we pointed the bow towards Ellis Island, and I can see Lady Liberty's flame off in the distance. Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, today could potentially be another double video day, but, oh man, I really you know, these double videos suck. It's so much time. And I don't want to say like that I hate doing the videos. I love doing the videos, and I'm grateful that I have like something to worry about, but it's like I think my main, I don't know what it is really. I don't know what it is really. Just all this stuff, all this noise. I really like, I was telling my mom on the phone the other day, I'd really like to go on a date sometime soon. And I don't know like what that entails. Like, what do I have to do? Like, I just know it's kind of just a little bit frustrating sometimes, because I know that this is a pretty big city, you know, and I know that there are plenty of girls my age that are just like, I would love to go on a date sometime soon. Like, so many girls. So many. And I'm thinking the same thing, and it's just ridiculous that like there's not a way. Like, it just seems like there's not a way. Like, it's not in who I am really to like I don't find every day the opportunity or the mindset or the ability to ask someone on a date. And even when I do, it's usually a no, or like I have a boyfriend or something like that. And it's like, I don't know how it's just frustrating, I feel, because I guess it's not frustrating. At the end of the day, I think subconsciously a lot, and I have to be very honest with you here. I think the frustration comes from like, I think it's like, I don't know that that's true though, so maybe I don't want to say it. It's kind of like gruesome, I guess. If you'd like to evade my personal space, if you will. I just feel like in the past, I've noticed that I will advance on girls and do things with girls, like almost like I have like a second brain that talks to me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like makes me do things that my normal brain would never make me do. You know what I'm saying? It's sometimes my little head takes control over my big head. You get me? And I don't think it's very frustrating. I think that was my little head infiltrating my big head and saying that it's frustrating. I think it's very awesome that I've given my big head so much control. I mean, if we look at what I was writing a year ago, it was kind of sad. Like, it was kind of sad. I think I was confusing temporary lust for forever love. And what makes it the most sad, I think, is how I roped other people into it. I think the most sad part about what I read from 1 year ago today is how I made it these girls' problem. You know, how I don't want to say played these games, but like they probably like these girls probably, when they think back to their interactions with me a year ago, they probably think like, why was he had so much energy here and then didn't talk to me at all there, you know? And that I imagine it's easy for them to say like, oh, he was probably just thinking with his penis, and that's the truth. But like, you can't, like, just like the most complicated thing in my life to me as a woman, they're probably never really going to understand. And that might lead to, and not understanding things just takes time, takes effort, brain power. And it's like, who am I to take that time and effort? Like, I feel like I've done an injustice. I could have been doing so many more productive things. I could have been making myself a better human being. I could have been, you know, like actually using my big brain instead of my little brain. I could have been, you know, like, and I want to say, like, I don't think I really knew. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, I don't really think I knew how much how much harm I was doing. And at the end of the day, you know, the girls might not have cared at all. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and say like I am like the best guy ever, and anytime I come across a girl's desk, they freak out and it's like this whole ordeal for them. But I am trying to say that like I know girls have shown me attention for the wrong reasons before, and it ends up being really frustrating when I figure out what's going on. I remember once I got this DM from this girl I thought was really cute, and I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. I feel so like cool right now. And she just wanted me to pay for her OnlyFans, and it was like probably a robot or a dude behind the screen. And I was like, I remember I was so frustrated and upset. So I'd never want to like, yeah, that's a big speech I just gave there. I think that I like, it's cool that I want to go on a date, and it's cool that like, I think I'm ready to go on a date. But that doesn't mean, I think for me to go on a date, it has to just happen. You know, there's not going to be any like late night plans hatched to text someone that I've known since high school. There's not going to be any, it's always late night. There's not going to be any late night downloads of Hinge or Tinder and making a funny profile. There's not going to be any of that. Hinge and Tinder might actually be, you know, good options, and I could make them work for me. But also, you know, I can't actually justify giving that time to doing that during the day. Because for me to use Hinge or Tinder, it would mean actually thinking about it and doing my best to think about it with my big brain and doing it in the daylight hours, as to not be influenced. And that takes away from what I'm scrambling so desperately to build here, which is like, I mean, this very much, I think this is going to be a big part of me eventually, you know, finding some sort of love in a relationship, this video stuff. I think, you know, sometimes I think to myself, just in my head, that like a girl might see the fact that I've consistently done this every day for however many days, and I continue to do it, and she might, she might be able to turn that into a pro for me as a potential mate. She might be like, oh, this guy, you know, found something that he enjoyed and he believes in, and he continued to do it because no one else has really anything like this. You know, people have their good grades and they have school, but like this, I think, sets me apart because nobody else has like, nobody else, I feel like it shows that I have balls, right? That I dream big, that like there's this thing that I'm doing and like I'm doing it, and that I feel like that is very, I don't know, a very, it makes me attracted to me at the very least. And then that's the important part. Like, it doesn't matter what the girls think about the videos. The videos don't matter. It's that I believe in myself. Like, I love myself first. A year ago, I was reaching out to all these girls, and like, I didn't even like myself sometimes when I looked in the mirror. And I think that just added to the fuel, the fire of like, what the hell is this guy doing? So that's sort of like what's popping, locking, and rolling. We're breezing past the 30-minute mark, and I'm now thinking about like what I haven't seen any movies or anything in the past that I could go in, but I know that that's a really good direction for keeping it real to go in. Is not this like, I think actually it's okay that I've had these past two episodes where like yesterday's episode we read the diary, and today for the first half of the episode we talked about all those things like girls and New York City and all that. And I feel like I haven't done that in a while, and it's okay that I'm doing it now. I don't, but I think it does get a little bit weird when that's like every episode, I guess. So I'm gonna make a big point. Maybe the remainder 30 minutes of this episode, I can just think of literally any movie and review that. So I think I'm gonna do that. What's a movie that I've seen recently? Fantastic Mr. Fox, I believe I watched twice. I could do that. I mean, what's a movie that I really have committed to my memory? Whiplash. I don't think I've ever done anything on Whiplash. Whiplash is an amazing film. I believe it started out in the indie film circuit and went around as like that kind of thing, and then they got the funding and budget to make it a whole big thing, and Whiplash is one of the most beautiful movies I have ever seen. Now, I'm an avid movie watcher, and I watch movies all the time. Rarely will I watch a movie twice. Continuously, rarely will it be 3 times, and etc. for 4, and I've seen Whiplash 5 times. 5 times. Let me tell you about this movie and what happens. So we open on a gentleman playing the drums. He's sweating really hard, and he's in a big room, and he's banging on them. The drums are very symbolic because they take away all of the thought behind like how strings vibrate to make noise. You know, we kind of have a hard time. We know that's how it happens as human beings, but we have a hard time, I guess, seeing it. When it comes to a drum, you know, stick hit drum noise. And while it's still, you know, just as complicated with the vibration of the stretched rubber over the metal frame, it makes more sense action-wise. It's very much like, you know, using more of your body, make harder hit, louder drum bang. And here, I think we have to acknowledge the relationship between human and object. We live our lives up here and seeing out of here, smelling through here, tasting here, and feeling here. And it's really existential for us to really think about what it means for me to touch this microphone or smell the air or even say these words. So to make a film is very much to tell a story, and to tell a story is to invoke emotion. So for the opening scene to be this guy, this boy banging on his drums, really got me as a watcher hooked, and hooked hard. It's like I knew from that very first scene that I was really, really going to enjoy this movie. And he's banging on his drums, you know, and the camera shows his sweat, and it cuts to him banging, 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 and then the door swings open, and it's a bald gentleman in a black t-shirt with tight sleeves, an older guy, a guy who seems to have lots of authority because the gentleman playing drums stops. He grabs the cymbal like this, and he's like, "Yes, sir." And the guy says something. He says something to him, you know, and our main drummer character guy talks back, and then our main guy sort of commands him to play a certain thing. And I guess he insinuates that he's going to ask for him to play a certain thing for him. So the guy just starts, and then our authority figure that just walked in says, "Did I say start yet?" It's very much that boss, that teacher and student moment where the teacher is very harsh on the student. It's almost like, even if like it's like there's no win here, because say the drummer, the student, waited for a command to start by chance. Say he just decided, okay, I'm going to wait for a definite command to start, even though he insinuated that he wanted to hear this. I'm going to wait for him to say, okay, now begin. It's all very likely that the teacher would say, "What are you waiting for? Are you going to play it, or am I going to stand here all day?" You know, it's that lose-lose situation that I feel like drill sergeants put their cadets through and boot camp. It's that mental game, that challenge of there's no logic here. I'm your superior, and you do exactly as I say when I say it. And as like I think as a guy, that is very much something that fires you the hell up, because just like smoking weed or getting drunk or drinking, doing something you're not supposed to, a vice, I guess, eating junk food, getting yelled at by a superior is like that. It's the same thing as pushing yourself really hard on a run, except there's this added, cool effect of someone else yelling in your ear, and you get to turn off like the decision-making part of your brain, and you get to turn on this like rule following part, and it's very blissful, I guess, in like a toxic sense. Just like when you drink every night, it burns your liver and you're getting yourself closer to death. When you hang around or, when you suffer through command like that, like if people that go to the army, they have a hard time coming out of the army because there's no drill sergeants in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like it's these are the things, and we very much see like that was like his first hit of this drug. Our drummer guy, that was his first taste of this vice, of this mental, game. And the guy leaves, and he's sort of like there thinking. And he goes home and he tells his dad, he said, "Dad, I played for the head music guy at the school today." And his dad's like, "Oh, that's good. That's good." So he's back in class, in school, and some way or another, the music teacher comes in. And it's very important to pay attention to exactly how the music teacher moves through the space and interacts with the story. Because it's not, there is no moment where the music teacher looks at our drummer guy and says, "Hey, I think you're really good. I want to promote you into our class." It's much more coded. It's much more subtle. It's much more like he's been doing this job and understands what he does the way he does it for so long that he's able to get people to do things without even saying things. And he walks into this classroom where our guy's playing drums, and he interrupts the class and he says, "I want you." And the guy, thinks that he's got promoted or whatever, and he ends up there and he sees how much of a difference it is from Class B to Class A. Class B is the one he's coming from, and Class A is the one this head music teacher guy teaches. And Class A is just, for one, it's all men. There's not a single woman in Class A. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very, very interesting to me, because I feel that there are differences between a man and a woman's brain. Not so that a woman couldn't do anything a man could do. She certainly could. But women are smarter when it comes to this self-degradating, sometimes this happens. Women are much smarter when it comes to these drugs, these vices, and they don't so easily get hooked on a chain of command or power like men do. And so we see that there's no women in this class. And, someone might say, "Oh, that's because they wouldn't survive. That's because they don't have what it takes." And I would say, I think it's because they're not stupid enough to take the shit from this music teacher, Like, this is a very expensive school. I don't know why they're in New York City. I don't know where the movie is set. We don't see outside too much, but we know that this is a music school, and it's a very prestigious music school, and we can imagine that, it's not the cheapest thing ever to attend. Hold on. Oh, yes, I'm coming. Wait, on the way? Was I scheduled for work at 2 today? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway. Anyway, where were we? Sorry. So he gets his first taste of this class, and after the class, the instructor says, "I want you here at 5 a.m. tomorrow." And this is our first deliberate trick, like obviously trick, you know, like it's very intentional what's about to happen next. Our student shows up at 5 or 4 and 5 in the morning, whenever he was told to arrive for class in the big guy's class, and the teacher lied, and he got him there like 3 or something hours early. So he sort of falls asleep in the room, and he wakes up when the actual students start to come in, and he's ready to play. And this whole time, you know, he's thinking that he's cooling with this music teacher because he got promoted into this class, and like he knows he's a strict guy and he's on his point, ready to play good drums. But this is when he's sort of like introduced to this whole different world where there's this amazing scene, okay? And these two things happen consecutively, right? First things first, the teacher has a very good ear. It's obvious he's a music teacher. And they're trying to start playing the song. He says, "Okay, from the top, here we go." And then he does like this. And everyone stops playing. And he says, "Who's out of tune? From the top, let's go." And then this again. And then he goes, "One of you four." And he points to a certain line of instruments. And he goes, "One of you is playing out of tune. So either you're going to continue to waste my time, or the one of you that knows you're out of tune is going to admit it and leave," or something like that. And then he goes, "Well, I don't know what's worse, gentlemen. Either one of you does not have the balls to admit that you are out of tune, or you don't even know you're out of tune. Tell me what's worse." And then he goes, "I'll find out who it is." And then he starts on the right side and goes to the left. "Play the note for me." And then he's not out of tune, so he said, "Play the note for me." He's not out of tune. "Play the note for me." He's not out of tune. And then this poor kid, this fat kid, he goes, "Play the note for me." And he plays it. And then he looks at him. And just like how he did at the very opening scene of the movie, where like he does this thing with his words where there's no correct answer, and it unloads this pressure onto the person he's speaking to. He says, "Are you out of tune?" And the poor kid just doesn't even know. He has no idea. So he ends up crying as he's being screamed at by our music teacher. And then he gets ejected from the band because he said, I'm sick of carrying your ass around. Like, this is it. You're out of the band. You're out. And he leaves. And then the music teacher says to the class, "Actually, he wasn't out of tune. It was you." And he points to a guy that he already passed. But the fact that he doesn't know is worse enough. And so then you're like, wow, this guy's evil. So then they start playing again, and he has a problem with our drummer guy. He's got a problem with the drums. And so he has everyone pause, and then has the drums go again. Pause, drums go again. And our drummer guy can't seem to get the right tempo. And so he does this swap where he's like, "Why can't you get the right tempo?" And then he picks up a chair and throws a chair at our guy. And it's very much like, holy shit, he just threw a chair at our guy. Like, it's very like, I can't believe that he just threw a chair at our guy, you know? And so that is sort of the moment where we realize, oh my God, this is crazy. What has our guy got himself into? So from that point on, our guy goes home and he pulls his bed into his drum room. He starts to practice so much that his fingers, and this is a recurring thing we'll see throughout the movie, are bleeding, ripping. The skin is ripping off his fingers. He's practicing so much, and he won't stop practicing. And now you're probably starting to get the picture about why there are no girls in this class, because women would just never do that sort of dumb thing. How does making yourself bleed make you any better at the drums? Yeah, it's a cool like story, and it sounds cool, but it doesn't actually like it's actually not the most effective and efficient way to continue playing drums. It actually is giving yourself an injury. It's self-harm. And at this point in the story, he I guess goes and sees the movies with his dad quite often. And so he goes to the movie with his dad, and they always get popcorn with chocolate-covered raisins in them, I think, or Milk Duds or something. And he goes to the movies without his dad once, and this cute girl is working the concession stand, and he musters up the courage to ask her out on a date, and she says yes, and she's so pretty, and they go and they eat pizza together, and they totally love each other, and it's like the most awesome thing ever. But then at a restaurant, just not even that much later, our main character gives this girl a speech. And he says, listen, I've been thinking about it, and I really want to drum, and I know that, we have a lot of fun together, but I just know what's going to happen. I'm going to keep drumming. You're going to resent me for choosing to drum over you, and I can't. I'm trying my best to drum, and I have to drum, so I'm going to keep on doing it, and it's going to make you hate me, and it's going to be a bad situation, so I just like to end it off right now, and he breaks up with her. Horrible decision. Horrible decision. But it's once again another reaffirmation of what this music thing is doing to this guy's brain. So this is when they start practicing this song Whiplash. It's not anything major, like they don't have like a state championship or anything. They're just a band, but they do have these concerts coming up where these important ears will be listening for, certain players that have the potential to join certain prestigious choirs and orchestras, I guess. I don't know what the name is for. I keep saying bands, but a band is like whatever. You know what I'm saying? But it's like this guy has made it his entire life. Our next dilemma is this folder dilemma. And this is where we see our guy sort of become someone that we didn't even know that he ever was. He starts to practice so much and put so much of his blood, sweat, and tears into this that it's like he quickly bypasses the hazing section and is now in like the frat brother section. Like he's one of the band guys, right? And when it comes down to him or a backup drummer, he's very much cutthroat. Like, I want this part. Like, you're going to let me, I work harder. I work the hardest. I get this part. You don't even know how to play the drums. And there's a dilemma where they have folders for music, and the guy, he says, like, do not lose your folder. Do not lose your folder. If I see one more of these folders lying around, I swear to God, I'm going to kill you all. And on that very same break, near the vending machine, our guy loses his folder. And it's funny because it's not actually shown in the movie what happens to his folder. But it can be assumed, and I think it's actually a pretty easy assumption to make, that our music teacher, yes, the same one that threw a chair at our main character, the same one that screamed at the fat guy and kicked him out of class, the same one that seems to have no emotion whatsoever, took that folder out of that chair. It seems very likely that happened. But nonetheless, our main character is now responsible for the loss of this folder. And somehow, some way, he lucks out and the blame doesn't go on him. The blame goes on the other guy. For some reason, when it comes up to the music teacher, the blame goes on the other guy. And you could just see in the demeanor, in the way that our main character is speaking and talking, he's much more cutthroat, blunt. He's much more like a predator than prey. He's much less like eager to learn and much more like hard-headed, ready to punch. And this takes us into our next scene, a very, very intense scene, a scene in which, hope I'm on the way. Why would my boss text me that? I ought to make a quick call just to be sure. Hillsborough Street. Hillsborough. Hey, it's Jack. Was I scheduled for 2 p.m.?
This is ironic because Christine was just about to call you.
What?
No, wait. What's today, the 24th?
Yeah, there's no way. I'm at 3.
You're scheduled for 3.
Okay, I'll see you at 3.
Yeah, no, she was just calling you to make sure you were coming in.
Okay, tell her yes.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye. Oh, you know you got bad standing at work when the boss is trying to make sure you're coming in an hour before. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, why would I ever be scheduled at 2? I just had to make sure. I was just thinking about it and I had to make sure. Also, I really should start like running or like, I don't know. I feel like I don't like this, you know, but it's okay. It's okay. So this is our next scene. This scene is badass. And let me say, Whiplash, it very much incites, even just watching this sort of like teacher-student relationship and watching this sort of like hazing ritual, even just watching it makes you, it fires you up. If I made Whiplash, if I made a movie, I would like explore the idea of doing frat hazing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, our instructor is instructing them to play Whiplash. They all practice it forever. And in Whiplash, the drums are very important. They have to keep an exact tempo, an exact pace. Not too fast, not too slow. And our teacher, I guess, has a superhuman ear for this kind of thing. It's funny because when it comes to music, it's like smells and colors and everything. It's like as people, some of us are better than others at hearing and seeing things, right? But we never, like, it's very hard to know these things. Like, yes, there are colorblind and color accuracy tests. There are probably smell tests and people with really great noses. And I would imagine there are like perfect pitch tests. And it's clear when someone has perfect pitch, they have that cool trick where they can make the pitch with their mouth immediately and match it, right? But it's kind of like how between the number 1 and 2, there's infinite decimals. There's like infinite levels of accuracy. And it leads to these situations where with enough like confidence and the right positions, a music teacher can, do this to his students, and the students don't question it. Like, oh, he can hear this. And it's like, who's to say that the student doesn't have just as good ears as the teacher? Who's to say that the tempo isn't perfect and the teacher is just telling the student for the sake of telling the student they're wrong, Like, so now there's 3 drummers in rotation. Our music teacher went and pulled up another guy from the old class. And that, before we get to this scene, that incites rage in our main character because he says to our big music teacher, and he lashes out, which is something that he never, he was never A, an angry guy, and B, he would never, it was like this character arc. He would never yell at this high-ranking music teacher, but all of a sudden he's yelling at him. He's saying, I worked for this part, and you're just going to bring this guy up and replace me? And it doesn't seem to make a difference. Like, it's for as much pain as this music teacher inflicts on our drummer, it's barely like, it still seems like he's barely even thinking about him, you know? So here we are, these 3 drummers. Our music teacher has told every other instrument that they can take 5, or he says as long as it takes for one of these drummers to get it right. So everyone else is in the other room, you know, just doing whatever. And these 3 drummers are in a rotation around the drum set. They're all dripping with sweat as the hours tick by, and the music teacher keeps saying, play, stop, too fast, play, stop, too slow, play, stop, too fast, play, stop, too slow. And it's like, oh my God, this is insanity. And it's our guy's up, and he's playing. And he's banging on his drums, and you think like, oh my God, like how is maybe I record, I want to make it to work on time for a change. So I'm going to end this episode 3 minutes early, and hopefully I remember to finish that 3 minutes when I get home from work. Peace.